Gary put in the problem obtaining good, reliable insight into customer satisfaction without spending a ton of money on market research. Gary, are you telling me that what it is that differentiates you is that you're a lower cost alternative to the competition while delivering similar quality? Or overall, are you better based on the mainstream?
It would probably be more the former, but
Okay.
a particular vertical sector that we focus on, and that vertical sector traditionally doesn't engage in a lot of market research, so it's almost like a new process for them. It's something they haven't traditionally done.
All right, now, that's a great point. Now, think about it from the prospect's perspective, okay? Because what you've given me is a feature of your product. Now, all we have to do is turn it on its head, and I'm just sharing with everyone what you wrote down. Now, if you're dealing with a sector that generally does not engage in market research, I assume that they go out there and they offer services or they sell some sort of product that they haven't done adequate market research on.
Correct.
Okay, and we're in a bad economy, right? So what can go wrong when they don't have market research?
Right, so to your point, as I kind of process what we're discussing here, I guess from the customer's perspective, if I could use the word the fear is that we're going to lose customers. If we don't satisfy them and keep them satisfied and know how to best keep them satisfied, we might lose customers. And then, oh my God, not only...
Exactly. So that's your prospect's reason for making the decision.
Yep.
Okay? So the reason I like people to share is because this is a hard paradigm shift for a lot of salespeople, because we are consumed with the features and benefits, why our product's better and so on, but we were practically brainwashed in it. So making that subtle shift does become very difficult because of our years of conditioning. But you gave me a really great feature that we were able to turn on its head and rephrase from the prospect's perspective. And this is how we're going to be creating the pitch. Gary, I'm putting you back on mute. And this is how we're going to be creating our pitch, so that when you're speaking to your prospects, you're speaking to them in the language that's going to emotionally motivate them into making a buying decision or into making the decision to set an appointment with you, as opposed to your language, which is what you're all excited about, but, the money's coming from the client, not from you, hopefully. Okay. Does anyone need more time or clarification in that first step? And we're going to build on these problems as we move through. This was simply the first step, and I wanted to get you going with it. If you do need further clarification, please keep typing it in the chat box, and I'll be happy to address it in the next section. Okay, our third step in terms of our fundamental first few steps with regard to prospecting is dealing with rejection. Whether you're cold calling or you're following up on warm leads, you're going to experience rejection. It's an unavoidable aspect of sales, and it impacts us all negatively. Anyone who tells you that rejection has no impact on them is either lying to you, is on some creative drug combination, or simply doesn't care about their job performance. So, if you have a hard time with rejection, you have two choices. You can avoid the phone, or you can shift your mindset. If you focus on disqualifying suspects rather than driving someone you believe to be a prospect with the magic word of, yes, I will give you an appointment, then you'll understand that the rejection isn't your solution, because your suspect was never a prospect because they didn't have a problem to begin with. When you engage the prospect on an emotional level, that has them talking about their problem, what they're losing, and the obstacles they're trying to overcome, is it really rejection if they don't agree to an appointment? That's analogous to someone having no money because they're out of work, complaining about it but not going on job interviews because they simply can't make the time to. Secondly, if you're focused on uncovering whether the person on the other end of the phone has a problem, is aware of the loss, has issues they want to overcome, and they tell you no, all they're telling you is that they don't have a problem. This isn't rejection, it's simply a response to a question about their current situation. Step 4 is probably the most critical but rarely followed step in a bad economy. And it's a step that's not only not followed by salespeople, it's not followed by sales management because they don't want to rock the boat because everyone's frustrated to begin with. In order to be successful, you have to maintain consistency. You have to develop a calling routine, you have to stick to it, and you have to keep dialing. You build momentum with every call you make, so make sure you have a sufficient number of contacts prepared. When you stop dialing, you lose your momentum. One thing I do want to point out at this section, whether you're a salesperson, sales manager, or business owner, if you have not taken the time to invest in a proper lead list for cold calling, you're wasting a huge amount of money with regard to salaries and opportunity costs, while other people are going and gathering information that should only cost you about 35 cents or 50 cents or 75 cents per name and number. Take the time. One of the things I hear consistently in this course is, well, our problem with cold calling is we don't have any leads, we have to go canvassing, we have to search the yellow pages, and so on and so forth. Advertising is great, advertising works, but if you want your people cold calling, you have to invest the money in a DMB list or an Info USA list or some other standardized list that gives you the names of decision makers, the direct telephone numbers, so you can break through and cut out all that wasted time searching the internet, doing this, that, and the other, having your salespeople get distracted on some other tangent and not maintaining the cold calling consistency. Ideally, you want your people sitting down for 1 hour every morning and maybe 1 hour every night too, depending on what your new business development strategy is, and pounding the telephone that entire time. They can't do that if half their day is spent trying to gather names and numbers. Okay. Additionally, in addition to having a sufficient number of contacts prepared and sticking to a calling routine, it's imperative that you track every call you make and develop a routine whereby you set aside a certain time period every day where you do nothing but prospect. Don't give up. If you feel like throwing in the towel, that's the time to get back to work. If you track yourself effectively, it fulfills two functions. First, you can be able to spot trends and assess closing ratios realistically. We have a tendency to either focus on the bad results or only on the good ones, depending on our behavior type. Unless proper tracking is utilized, we are rarely realistic about our performance and what can be expected every time you pick up the phone. Tracking all your sales activity is essential, but when your job relies on cold calling and you're expected to meet quotas with little to no sales management assistance or little to no advertising support, knowing your numbers is critical. Secondly, we're going to go over this in a moment, you need to track yourself comprehensively. You need a consistent approach to every phone call you make, and you need to be able to ascertain where it is you're consistently losing your prospect. This will help you improve your performance in multiple areas. We all have dreams and goals, okay, but success always lies in the details. So, to summarize, your first 4 preliminary steps are, number 1, believe in what you're selling, understand the important role you play in resolving your prospects' problems. If you're a sales manager or a business owner and you're looking to hire someone new, try this approach. Try talking to them about all the problems their prospect goes through instead of training them on all the things your solution can do. Give that new person a vital understanding of the full scope of the problems the prospect is going through, because that way your new person is going to communicate with the prospect strictly in that language. For those of you who are in this course, you need to go through the paradigm shift of moving out of product knowledge speak and into the emotional speak that's going to actually motivate the prospect. This belief in yourself happens when you fully understand the vital role you're playing in solving your prospects' problems. When they start quantifying on a tangible level where they are without you, your self-belief goes through the roof when you realize the solution you really have that you're putting into play for them. Secondly, focus on your customer, not on how wonderful your company or solution is. Think about being at a dinner party. Do you really want to talk to someone who talks about themselves all night? Deal with rejection. Accept it's going to occur. However, if you suitably quantified your prospect and they say no, they simply no need, and the rejection isn't personal. Finally, most important of all, track your performance. If you're a business owner or a sales manager and you are investing in lead lift and you're spending a lot of money in advertising and so on, the tracking is essential for you to figure out where it is you're going to actually stick money when it comes to different members of your sales team. Especially in this economy, you don't want to be throwing out advertising dollars. Okay, many in sales have a negative view of prospecting. It's usually the biggest hurdle to overcome when implementing some sort of new goal realization strategy and so on. Salespeople, especially ones who have decent salaries, see prospecting as a fruitless activity because of the rejection they have to endure when engaging with it. But you need to understand, every time you pick up the phone, you do make money. The way you figure this out is you calculate what you make per deal you sell, calculate how many appointments it takes for you to actually get a deal, calculate how many cold calls you need to make in order to generate an appointment. That's how you figure out what you make per call. For example, let's say you average $2,000 in commission from every $10,000 deal sold. You know your closing ratio is 1 out of 4 appointments. You go out on 4 appointments in a week, you're going to get one. You know it takes you, based on the tracking you've done, 25 calls in order to generate an appointment that actually shows up or is there when you show up there. So you need to make 100 calls to get a deal. So every call is worth $20 in your pocket and $100 gross to your company. You do get paid every time you pick up the phone, no matter what the outcome of that actual phone call is. There are many issues associated with prospecting, but by far, the single biggest barrier to prospecting is call reluctance. Salespeople make every excuse on earth to avoid cold calling. It doesn't work. I have clients to follow up on. I have a million other things to do. Let me go knock on doors for the next 10 days and try and gather up some names. However, I probably won't get back to actually calling them. The salespeople often will do anything but cold call. Your attitude towards the activity has everything to do with call reluctance. If you think you have a problem, you probably do. If you speak to a cross-section of salespeople about prospecting, you're going to get numerous viewpoints on a number of different aspects of it. However, the key thing you'll discover is that some salespeople focus on and believe that certain negative reactions by the prospect are a guarantee, whereas others visualize a positive result from prospecting and see the activity as a breeze. It's a means to an end. Those with a positive mindset, they approach the situation differently. They communicate differently, they handle objections differently, and as such, they end up with a different outcome from the one that accompanies that self-fulfilling prophecy of failure that other salespeople are wrapped in. What I'm trying to focus on here isn't simple positive thinking. If positive thinking worked, we'd be spending the next 2 hours thinking about winning the lottery. I'm trying to get you to approach the activity with a level of expectation for success. When you have this attitude, not mere optimism, but one where you expect a positive result for your efforts, it's going to impact you in 2 ways. Number 1, it's going to increase your confidence, and this will be reflective in how you communicate with the prospect and in turn how they deal with you. Secondly, when you see you're not getting the results you expect, you'll be more apt to stop and examine where it is you're going wrong and implement the modifications to your approach necessary for you to achieve the results you expect from your efforts.